Hare Krishna. ठीक है. नमस्ते सारस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशकारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद. हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. Welcome all. So we are discussing Learn Gita, Live Gita course. How many of you have given the test? The test for chapter 2. How many of you have given the test for chapter 2? Even Abhishek Bansal has given. So others have not given yet. Okay, please do it. Tomorrow is quiz. Okay, tomorrow is anyways a very special day. Maybe day after tomorrow or later you can give the test as early as possible. Okay, anybody has any questions? Because yesterday we discussed some very some doubts, and I'm sure you must have more questions about it. Please ask, because with your questions I will also learn so much. So Abhishek Bansal is asking, when Vedas say 84 lakh species, what exactly do they define species? Okay, I can give you my understanding. This is the levels of consciousness. Sir also says like different apartments. Like Prabhupada uses the analogy that there are 84 lakh different bodies, different kinds of bodies which are available for jivas to take. So jivas, they can enter in one of these 84 lakh different kinds of bodies. So these are not 84 lakh bodies, but 84 lakh kinds of bodies. And they differ in terms of their consciousness. I don't think I have any more knowledge about that. These species has nothing to do with biological species. There is some correspondence, like Bhagavatam says exactly, I don't remember the verse. There are 9 lakh water aquatics, maybe 40 lakh types of, no, not 40 lakh. I don't remember exactly the number. Maybe 40 lakh kinds of okay, n number of aquatics, n number of non-moving like trees and plants, n number of reptiles, n number of human beings, n number of animals, like that. So there is some correspondence with biological species also. Any more questions? There are 4 lakh species of human beings, 4 lakh. And they represent those many kinds of consciousness. Then if we improve our consciousness, then do we change our species in the same life? No, as I said, this is 84 lakh bodies, 84 lakh kinds of bodies which we can take. So I don't think in the same life you can change species. One species is fixed for one life. Then when you die and you take up another apartment or another body. Any more questions? Yesterday we were discussing about evolution versus Krishna's role there. So we saw, yes, evolution is there, but evolution is very, it's very syntactic. Means it's applicable in a very narrow domain, that you are just adapting to immediate surroundings, but it is not that. It does not explain why life is. Why do we have life? Why life exists? Why life? Why there is equilibrium? This very thin equilibrium is still sustained, that we are existing, we are surviving. Right? There is a question by Abhishek Bansal. If species is based on consciousness level, then one might increase his consciousness with association with devotees. Yes. And then accordingly he will get the next body. So in the same species, it is not. It doesn't change. This is my understanding, which I am basing it on that these are different apartments. So you are in one apartment for one lifetime, then change the apartment. Another is that I'm given this body, so I'm stuck with it. So it's like prarabdha karma. Another technical term that, okay, it has already fructified, so you cannot do much about it. But those which are not fructified yet, they may be destroyed by bhakti, which means your sins are destroyed. The future thing is your future is better. And of course, so this body is just a body. It does not define your happiness or distress. Your happiness and distress is not controlled by this body, right? Even if I am in body of a very illiterate and poor illiterate person, still I can be happy. And I may be in a body of a very intelligent scholar, but still I may be suffering. And so happiness and distress is not controlled by the species. And devotees association, it gives us natural happiness. That's what we see in the Bhagavad Gita. Krishna says, Machita matata prana bodhayanta parasparam kathayantascha maam nityam tushyanti cha ramanti cha. So we become satisfied and we become happy, whatever body we are in. Hare Krishna. So yeah, yesterday we were discussing about that how there is evolution, but the cost function or the fitness function is not explained by evolution. What is a fit species? Okay, Kunal Bro is writing. Okay, it's fine, no problem. Any more questions, or from yesterday's discussion, are there further questions? I'm expecting more questions because we discussed something very means I'm trying to tell that how this current attempts to deny the existence of God are so childish, even from scientific perspective. Means even from material science perspective. Means even from the perspective of current science, modern science. But still, the people are holding on to them for no reason. They are just adamant. Means they are just obstinate. They don't want to give it up. But it is so clear that it is not explaining things. But still, if you see people like there are people who are they're public scientists. They speak in public and they tell everybody that, see, science is so great. We have done this much. We have done this. We know everything. So these are the people who are very popular in West. I don't know about India. I have not seen much maybe in India, but in West they are, like Richard Dawkins, so popular. Then there is Brian, what is his name? Brian. Forgot the name. He's a professor in University of Manchester, and he works on particle physics. He's a physicist. Forgot his name. Something from B. Anybody knows that? Anyway, so he's also there. So these are very, Brian Cox. He's a professor in University of Manchester, and he's professor in physics. Brian Cox. And so there are many people like that who, especially they come on Discovery Channel and National Geographic Channel and they speak, oh, see, we know everything, we understand everything, science is so great. But they are kind of doing a lot of hand waving and covering so many things, and people are also just swayed away by their talks, and they never ask these pertinent questions, because anyways people are by nature they don't have their own brains, they just borrow brains from others. as Krishna says, Yadyat acharati shreshtas tatadev itaro janaha sayat pramanam kurute lokastad anuvartate. So people, they have their role models, they have their ideas, and these people, they try to become their ideals and try to lead people, try to guide people in a wrong direction. That is very harmful, very, very bad. So we should not we should not be carried away by such propaganda. In biology, species is defined as which are able to breed together. Is there any connection to consciousness levels and interbreeding? No idea. I have no idea. Chahat can explain it better because he is from biology. I don't know. Hare Krishna. These are very biologically, I don't know what is biological definition of species and what is the meaning of interbreeding or how it is related to consciousness. I don't know. This material creation has a purpose. It could conclude this from yesterday's discussion. I thought about this all night. Okay, very good. Yes. So when we build a machine learning model, we spend a lot of money, a lot of resources, putting data centers all around, and we create a loss function or an objective function, and we make a machine to evolve so that the weights are in a very optimal position, that they are doing the task which we want them to do. There is a purpose. Otherwise, why will we form such a loss function, right? So there is a purpose to it. So yes, without confusing you further, because these are very deep topics, and you can spend your lifetime thinking about it, and with Krishna's grace, you can Krishna can give you hints, or Krishna can give you directions that see how you should think, so that you come to the right conclusion. But if Krishna does not guide us, then we can be lost in this jungle of reasons, arguments, and we will end up in a very bad local minimum. We will not be able to reach global minimum. So which means we will be stuck in a wrong understanding. So that is why it is very important to have grace of Krishna. So instead of speculating too much about it, we should definitely think about these topics, and but in line with what Krishna has told. Then our task becomes very easy. If, for example, so Krishna has said, life has a purpose. We are living beings. We are different from matter. Now, understand what Krishna is saying. Now, use this as your yardstick, and then compare other philosophies where they stand in relation to this. So instead of discovering or trying to invent a philosophy of your own, so you take Krishna's philosophy, Krishna's knowledge, Bhagavad Gita, and see how pertinent is this in light of different arguments. For example, we saw from the perspective of evolution. So one perspective of evolution, that evolution when compared with information theory. So from this perspective, if I take Krishna's knowledge, which says that life has a purpose, living beings are here. So apartments are designed by Krishna, but we make a choice which apartment to choose, not directly but indirectly. we make some other choice, whether to stay with Krishna or away from Krishna, and then based on three modes of material nature, we are forced to take one of the apartments. So we take Krishna's knowledge, Krishna's understanding, and we have these questions like evolution and all. Now we try to answer these questions from different understandings. One is Krishna's knowledge, other is, let's say, Darwin's knowledge, other is maybe Richard Dawkins' knowledge, if he has any original knowledge. I don't think so. He's not very original philosopher. And then Brian Cox's understanding. So we try to answer these questions from these limited, not these given a finite number of understandings, and then we see that how what Krishna has given is so much superior to what these people are saying, and then I think the task becomes much easier. Rather than me inventing a new philosophy altogether, just take Krishna's understanding and try to analyze it, try to see it, or what is it called? Try to go deep into it from perspectives of these new questions. And that will be much more efficient than speculating or trying to invent something new on my own. So yeah, and very important point that, as we discussed, that a philosophy without practice becomes armchair philosophy. It is of no use. And practice without philosophy becomes fanaticism. Then we become fanatics. For example, if I chant Hare Krishna, but I don't know that I'm different from body, I'm not matter, I'm spirit, soul. I don't have knowledge, but I'm just chanting. Then it is nice, but I may become fanatic. Then I will fight with everybody, those who are not chanting, thinking that they are really useless, or I may find faults with them, I may find faults with everybody else, thinking that this is the only thing and everything else is wrong. So, for example, let's say if I offer fruits to Krishna, and I don't know why I should offer fruits to Krishna, but I do it, and I become fanatic. And if anybody else offers, let's say, vegetable to Krishna or water to Krishna, I will fight with him. Why are you offering water and vegetables? You should offer only fruits to Krishna. Because I don't understand the philosophy, I'll become fanatic and I fight unnecessarily and trouble myself unnecessarily. So yes, practice without philosophy is bad, fanaticism, but philosophy without practice is even worse. Because then I won't practice anything, I'll just speculate and I'll become very dumb. An example could be, if I just keep speculating, yeah, we should do good to everybody, and I never go out and do good to anybody, then what is the use of such philosophy? And if I make a philosophy, I should not become angry because this, and when I actually meet people, I always shout at them, I always get angry at them, and I always fight with them, then what is the use? Even if I may write books on how to not get angry and we should not get angry, and actually when I'm meeting people, I'm getting angry on them all the time. So this is armchair philosophy. Philosophically, I can be very thorough, but what is the use if I don't practice? So similarly here, when we are reading about this Learn Gita, Live Gita course, the purpose is that we should become very knowledgeable in philosophy, but we also become very strong in our practice. That is why we have, let's say, Ekadashi. Let's say tomorrow we have Ekadashi, and we chant daily, and we come together and do Kirtan daily. So this is very important. So, okay, I told one perspective. Another perspective is that, as I told that there is a question and we want to see the best answer. So we just take answer from Krishna, we take answer from Brian Cox or from Richard Dawkins, from Darwin, and we see which answer is the best to this question. And then we, as we discussed, find that Krishna's answer really makes much more sense as compared to Darwin or anybody else. And so this is possible only if we understand Krishna's answer thoroughly, right? What understanding Krishna has presented, if I understand thoroughly, then only I can analyze it, right? Otherwise, how will I compare it with anything else, or how will I analyze it? But for that, it is very important to have mercy of Krishna. If I receive grace of Krishna, then that understanding of Krishna becomes very clear. Which verse is that from Bhagavad Gita? Which verse is that from Bhagavad Gita? If I practice, then Krishna gives me the understanding, so that I can understand Bhagavad Gita very thoroughly. Which verse is that? Okay, so this question you have to answer. Okay, Tesham evanukampartham tadami buddhi. Both are correct. So both these verses are next to each other. So the first verse is Tesham nitya abhiyuktanam Tesham nitya abhiyuktanam bhajatam priti purvakam Dadami buddhi yogam tam yena mamupayanti te. Krishna is saying, those who are nicely engaged in my devotional service and they are endeavoring to practice very nicely, so I give them intelligence. Dadami buddhi yogam tam. I give. And the next verse is, Tesham evanukampartham aham ajnanajam tamah nashayamya bhavastho jnana deepena bhasvata. So it says, to shower mercy on them, I personally light candle or the torchlight of knowledge in their hearts and dissipate all the ignorance. All the ignorance is cleared by Krishna personally. So if there are 7 billion people in the world, just human beings, then Krishna gives knowledge to each and every person who is surrendered to him, who is practicing sincerely. Krishna personally gives knowledge to them. Krishna personally removes all the ignorance. Okay. And one point which I want to mention from last, for example, now Abhishek asked this question. In biology, species is defined as that which are able to breed together. Is there any connection to consciousness rather than interbreeding? So this is a question, and I am not blessed by Krishna to be able to analyze this question in light of Bhagavad Gita. Maybe Chahat Prabhu is, so he can give answer to this. So what I'm saying is that to be able to analyze Krishna's understanding, the Bhagavad Gita, in light of these questions, it also requires mercy of Krishna, which we can get by practice. So if you don't have it, you don't have it. You cannot analyze that question. I cannot analyze that question in light of Bhagavad Gita. So I have to chant more for that. Dheeraj Prabhu is saying, should we compare both answers from neutral point, or should we consider Krishna's answer already correct? Okay. Good question, good question. So the simple answer is, if you are neutral, then you will naturally come to the conclusion Krishna's answer is better. This may look as a bias, this may appear to be a biased view, but this is not biased because, as we said, Guru Sadhu Shastra. So great spiritual masters have confirmed, great devotees in the past, the Purvatarai Maharshi bhi, the Purva Maharshis, means those who are great souls in the past, they have confirmed, they have analyzed so many questions, like much more than what we know. They have analyzed so many questions from neutral points of view in light of Bhagavad Gita and in light of other speculative philosophies, and they have given conclusion that Bhagavad Gita is really Krishna's understanding is really the best. It very nicely answers the question. Which verse? There is a nice verse from Shastras which says that. So the verse which is coming in my mind is this one. Sarva Shastrani Alodhya Vicharya Cha Puna Puna. Oh, I forgot the next line. Maybe a Google search can help. Sarva Shastrani Alodhya Vicharya Cha Puna Puna. Anybody knows this verse? Anybody remembers? I have forgotten. Okay, and here I got it. This is about the 6 Goswamis, that how they are great rishis and what did they do. They said, oh no, a minute. Hmm. Oh, this is so bad. I got this verse, but then this website does not allow me to see. Okay, so this verse is that Alodhya sarva shastrani vicharya cha punah punah idam ekena sunishpannam dheyo narayano harihi. So this is about the six Goswamis, that the six Goswamis, they analyzed all the Vedic literature very thoroughly, and they concluded with absolute certainty that idam ekam sunishpannam dheyo narayano hari, that just remember Krishna, which is Lord Narayana, Lord Hari. So this means that they analyzed so many questions in light of the knowledge given in Bhagavad Gita, light of knowledge given by the Shastras, and they came to the conclusion that Krishna, just remember Krishna, which means Krishna is the perfect conclusion. So based on their conclusion, or based on their teachings, we put our trust that yes, what Krishna is saying in Bhagavad Gita must be perfect. So any question we bring in from any domain, if we analyze it in light of Bhagavad Gita, then Bhagavad Gita understanding will be the best. Means it will explain the concept better than any other philosophy. Yes. Abhishek Babu is saying, in the material world it is very difficult to accept anything as perfect. Yes, that is why Gita is not a product of material world. Bhagavad Gita is divine, right? So that is why it can be perfect. My understanding is material. My understanding is limited. Therefore, I cannot create a perfect theory. I cannot speculate and invent a perfect theory because I am limited. But Krishna is not limited, and he can give understanding which is perfect. That is the point. Yeah. So okay. So see, we discussed different kinds of epistemology in this chapter. We discussed direct perception with our senses, with our gross senses, empirical evidence, or the direct direct perception with my senses, which verifies some fact, and then I have logical conclusion. I use arguments and logic to construct a very good answer, and then we have divine revelation, which comes in two flavors or two kinds of divine revelation. One is from Guru Sadhu Shastra, and the other is from personal realization, when somebody has special grace of Krishna, that Krishna personally blesses that person with the realization or the direct perception, the divine direct perception. So these, so there are people in this world who don't want to accept the second two parts, the second two which are related to divine revelation. They don't accept Shastras, they don't accept personal revelation because they have not experienced it simply. But they accept the first two, which is direct perception and logical inference. So that's fine. If they think that is the only epistemology available, so no problem. We can even go in that direction, and in the light of Bhagavad Gita, we can, using just these two evidences, we can, in a very neutral way, do an analysis and find out the right understanding. Is inspiration also a divine revelation? Okay, difficult question. As per my understanding, inspiration can be also material and inspiration can also be spiritual. So I don't know. Both are possible. It can be a material inspiration also, like I may be inspired to do something which is very mundane, very material. I don't think that is a divine revelation. Yeah, so this is the thing. When we are, so depending on our audience, we can choose which epistemology they accept. Some people may accept the authority of Shastras, then we can give arguments, or we can give reasons or understanding from the Shastras. And there are some people who say, no, we don't accept Shastras, we will only accept logical inference and direct perception. Okay, so if you are a realized soul, you can present the perfect understanding just in terms of those, within that paradigm only. Does that make sense? Like, why I'm telling you is, the reason is that if you understand, if you have realized Bhagavad Gita knowledge, then let's say you have a friend who is not accepting Shastras. You say, I don't believe in Bhagavad Gita. Who knows what is there in Bhagavad Gita and whether it is perfect or not. I don't understand. I don't want to go to that. But can you tell me how you are different from matter, just from scientific perspective? So when they say science, it means just these two, direct perception or logical inference. Then if you are realized, you will say, yeah, why not? Let us not talk about divine revelation part or the Bhagavad Gita part. We can just talk in terms of very, very easily accessible proofs, like in divine, direct perception or in logical inference. And you can very easily show that we are different from matter. We are different from matter. So these topics you can easily deal with without referring to Shastras. But then when you come to topics which are beyond your material perception, then Shastras are necessary. And if somebody does not accept the authority of Shastras, he can never access to those topics. For example, who is God? Means, let us say, if we say Krishna is God, which means, okay, Krishna means God was born in Vrindavan or God appeared in Vrindavan 5,000 years ago. Then they may go to historical evidence, because direct perception they cannot do, because they cannot directly perceive Krishna. Okay, they can visit Vrindavan and they can see so many temples are existing. That is fine. And they may do some logical inference. Okay, the calculations given in Shastras, they match with the astrological calculations which we can do now, and we see there is correlation. So yes, these kind of proofs are there, these kind of arguments can be given. But the most powerful argument will be, because Shastras say so, so we accept it. So and if somebody does not accept the authority of Shastras, he can never accept that conclusion that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, right? So it is simply beyond his reach. He cannot do direct experiments with it, because Krishna is beyond our experimentation. He cannot go do a logical conclusion to this, because he has no evidence. Whatever evidence is coming, whatever historical events are coming, that is coming from Shastras only, right? Even if you do logical analysis of the Shastras, for example, Krishna lifted the Govardhan hill at the age of 7 and just on his left small finger. So that statement itself is coming from Shastras. If somebody does not accept Shastras, he can never even understand that. So the question is, the way to understand God only is divine revelation. So yes, to be able to understand God very closely, the only way is divine revelation, right? Either through Guru Sadhu Shastra or through direct spiritual revelation. But from logic and from direct perception, we can answer so many other questions, like presence of God can be inferred, and we are different from matter. This can be very easily established, and that, yeah, these kind of questions are accessible. But the exact nature of divinity, exact nature of Krishna, that his name is Krishna, or the name Krishna is so divine, it is the name of absolute truth. These things become difficult if we don't accept divine revelation. That is why Shraddha means the spiritual piety or spiritual blessings which we have accrued, by which we are able to accept the Shastras as an authority. So that is required. Earlier it was not a problem. Earlier in the pre-British time, the Shastras were always an authority. So whenever people are discussing amongst themselves, they can freely quote Shastras, just like today we quote other evidences like direct perception or logical inference. Nobody has any question. Nobody questions that. If you say salt is salty or salt is salty in taste, nobody will object to it because everybody can experience it directly and they are convinced. So it was it is direct perception is a well accepted fact. Similarly, earlier Shastras was also a well accepted fact. Therefore, whenever there were arguments or debates, the Shastras was a well accepted authority. Shastras were a well accepted authority. But today it is not so, because we have this Kali Yuga, we have degraded. One might argue that there were no people at the time of dinosaurs, human came much later. Is this true in light of Bhagavad Gita? No, this is not true in light of Bhagavad Gita. And Bhagavad Gita says that all the species are existing all the time, more or less all the time. So humans have always been there. If you go to Ramayana, Ramayana talks about a world which is about 20 lakh years old. So what is the age of dinosaurs? 6 million something. What is the age of dinosaurs? When were dinosaurs there? As per the modern archaeologists or modern anthropologists. What is the age of dinosaurs? 65, yes, about 60 million, 650 million years ago. Okay, so 65 million years ago they died. Yeah. So Ramayana is about 2 million years old. Ramayana happened around 2 million years ago. Ramayana happened in 24th Yuga. So, I don't know that. Ramayana happened in beginning of Treta Yuga. This is Kali Yuga. So before this Yuga was Dwapar Yuga. Before that Treta Yuga was there. So if you calculate their duration. Ramayana happened in 24th Yuga. You mean to say the Yuga cycle? I think Ramayana happens in all the Yuga cycles. Why only 24? As far as my knowledge goes, it happens in all the Yuga cycles. Whenever there is Treta Yuga, Lord Ram appears. Okay. Yes, I am not an expert in archaeology, but I have friends who are experts in archaeology. If you have heard of Michael Cremo Prabhu, I met him in Oxford. He was visiting there, and we asked him many interesting questions. And he is an archaeologist, and he was telling so many evidences for the existence of humans many years ago. Also, he has archaeological samples which are man-made and which are very old, and the Darwin theory is not able to explain that, so they just ignore that. And these archaeological samples are very well accepted samples. So Michael Cremo Prabhu came to Oxford because he was invited by the university to do some analysis of some of the archaeological artifacts which Oxford University has in its museums. Oxford University has got many museums. One is called Natural History Museum, which preserves all the historical or archaeological artifacts, archaeological objects. And he was invited to analyze them and to do some research on them, things like that. Okay, so Abhishek Bansal is saying 24th. Okay, possible. I don't know. As far as my understanding goes, it happens in every Chatur Yuga. Okay, I think that is the limit of my knowledge. I am limited. you can verify from sir. He can tell much more in detail. Okay, thank you very much. We could not start chapter 3 because I think this topic which we are discussing is very important, and I will give you, actually I wanted to do some more brainstorming on this. I can give you arguments that even the even the fitness function is designed by nature. But I think I won't confuse you, because then I can again give counter arguments for that also. Okay, so but thing is that if you practice sincerely, Krishna gives you a lot of intelligence to go very deep into these topics. Khandan Mandan, yes, but we are not doing it for useless purpose. We are doing it for a deep research, for going deep into the topic. We have a purpose, right? When we are exploring the state space, we are not just randomly without any fitness function. We do want to reach a conclusion. We do want to make sure that my understanding of Bhagavad Gita is flawless in light of those questions, right? I want to understand Gita in more and more depth, and I want to make sure that whatever is my current understanding, that I am spirit, soul, I am not body, this understanding cannot be challenged by any other philosophy or any other argument or anybody else who may be very intelligent. Like if Richard Dawkins comes in front of you and he starts telling you are a body, you are not spirit, soul, and if you have very strong understanding of Bhagavad Gita, then you can give him very convincing points that, see, how do you explain this? Bhagavad Gita explains this. How do you explain this? Gita explains this. And Richard Dawkins will be just speechless. He will just be speechless if you are an intelligent person. But if you are not intelligent, if you have not understood Gita in depth, then today you will meet Richard Dawkins and say, yes, Dawkins is correct, Gita is wrong. Tomorrow you will meet Brian Cox, you will say, yes, Brian Cox is correct, Dawkins was wrong. And then day after tomorrow you will meet Sir, you will say, yes, Sir is correct, Dawkins and Cox were wrong. And then day after tomorrow you will meet somebody else, you will say, yes, this is correct, the others were wrong. So you will, because you are not grounded in Bhagavad Gita, so you will never be stable. You will always, your understanding will be always dwindling. That is why it is important to have very thorough understanding. That is why I am asking many questions which I have been thinking about, and I found Bhagavad Gita was very nicely explaining those answers. And I found my other professors, they were missing elephant in the room. They were missing some very obvious points. So thank you very much. I hope you celebrate tomorrow very nicely. Tomorrow is Nirdala Ekadashi. So starting from the morning up till late in the night, we will be having full Krishna conscious engagement. So I have taken off from the institute tomorrow. I'll be just at home and participating in activities which sir has organized, like reading, and tomorrow there is a quiz and chanting a whole day, and fasting from everything else. So thank you very much and all the best. Hare Krishna.